Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night with Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities Behind Black Business. And tonight we have another special guest in our midst. As I tell you, every Wednesday night, every guest that we have is special. We're here to enhance the awareness and support of Black businesses. And tonight we have Latasha Field, and she is going to be talking to us tonight about homeschooling, independent education. She is founder of a independent school here in the Chicago area, and we have more and more people who are moving in this direction. And because of what's happening in our Chicago public schools, we need this happening. So I want to thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, Miss Denise, for having us. A blessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as you know, we are a private foundation, and we are working to enhance the awareness and support of Black businesses in our communities. We have so many people, other people that are working in this area. We have people that are working in other areas because we have so many issues that need to be addressed. But we feel that if we can uplift our Black businesses, then our Black businesses can help circulate dollars in our community, provide inspiration and support for other Black entrepreneurs, uh, serve as mentors and inspiration for our young people, because they need to see us, owning businesses. They need to see us in different work areas. Um, and so that's why we're supporting these businesses. As we say every week, we have people who have come into our communities uh, to enrich themselves and have given nothing back. They won't hire people from the community, our people. They won't give other business people who maybe an insurance man is selling insurance. They won't buy insurance from them. They won't buy products from them. Everything is in-house. So all of the dollars that we're spending is being extracted from our communities. On top of the under-resourcing that we get from our government, it is a miracle that we're still standing.
Yes, 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 it is.
Absolute miracle. And so we have to roll up our sleeves. Uh, People like Latasha that are in our midst and the work that she is doing, and so many other people out here are doing, we have to support them and take advantage of the services that they are offering, because this is what we need. This is absolutely what we need. So we have to support our businesses, and that's what Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities is all about.
Yes.
When we get dollars that you donate, we take some of those dollars and we use those dollars to try to help some businesses if we can. We have helped some businesses get websites, um, different kind of marketing of support that they need. So we've helped in that matter. And we have also rolled up our sleeves and got on the phone and fought to keep some businesses open. We've called the aldermen. We've called these state reps. We've called the congressmen. We've gone to their offices on behalf of our businesses.
Yes.
This is what everybody is going to have to start to do. We have to stop waiting for other people to do for us, to do what we can do for ourselves. So we ask that you definitely make an effort to support a Black business. Just ask yourself every day, have I supported a Black business today? You're quick to tell me about Amazon, but have you supported a Black publishing company? Have you supported a Black distributor? So that's what's important here. We also are great proponents of our bookstores. Why? Reading is very important. Knowledge is very important. We have an educator here tonight, and she's going to be able to talk to you about that history that we need to know. I recently visited South Carolina, And I picked up a book where it showed that back in slavery, on the federal dollars were our pictures.
Mm.
The slaves' pictures were on the money,
Wow.
and they might as well be on there today.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
But there's this psychological thing going on where we think we're in a space that we're really not.
Mm-hmm.
But this is serious, and all of the black businesses, the black people, pretty much in Charleston are gone, and we're pictures on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
We're pictures on the wall in the jazz clubs. We're pictures on the wall in the clubs where they used to play Motown, where Marvin Gaye used to sing. His picture, actual photographs on the wall, but we're not there.
Mm-hmm.
Our music is being played, but we're not playing
Yeah.
it, and we're not dancing to it. We're not experiencing it.
Yeah.
This is what is happening.
Yeah.
So this is an urgent time.
Yes.
We have work to do, and so reading about our history, knowing our history, reading about different perspectives. We have some great authors out here that have written some profound information that we need to know. That's why we support our black bookstores.
Yes.
And we used to have 22 black bookstores in Chicago. We went down to 2, but there is a resurgence
Right.
of brick and mortar as well as online bookstores. And
Mm-hmm.
so we feature a bookstore every month on our website. And this month it is Rose Cafe,
Mm-hmm.
and Rose is in the Roseland community. She has an online store, rosecafe.org. Rose is a special ed teacher here in Chicago, and she has this bookstore, children books for children and adults. And we go a little step further. We give a book away every month.
Mm-hmm.
Feature a bookstore. That bookstore selects a book, or we choose a book from that bookstore, and all you have to do to win this book is subscribe to rrgbc.org, and you can become the winner of one of our books. And we pay for the shipping. So there's no catch here. We really want you reading these books. And
Yes.
so this month, the book that is being given away is The Three Mothers.
Mm.
These are the mothers of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and James Baldwin. These mothers were able to instill resistance, a sense of resistance
Mm.
in their children, and to help them also to understand that we have value. And so this is a wonderful book, and I'm going to announce the winner of the book at the end of this show. All right. But please support Rose Cafe at rosecafe.org. And we also are fighting to get um, contracts for our Black bookstores. So we ask you to go to Save Black Bookstore Chicago change.org. Save Black Bookstore Chicago change.org. Sign our petition.
Mm.
Our bookstores should be getting contracts for books at our Chicago public schools
Mm.
and at our Chicago public libraries.
Yeah.
They can purchase some of their books from some of our bookstores locally. They do this in other municipalities. It needs
Mm.
to be done here in Chicago. So please sign that petition. And finally, the Southside Community Federal Credit Union, located at 5401 South Wentworth, here in Chicago, right there at Garfield Park, Garfield 55th and the Dan Ryan Expressway, is a Black institution. They've
Mm.
been in the community for over 20 years, giving financial literacy classes, extending loans for cars, homes, personal loans to people who have not been able to go to some of these major banks that we're all sinking our money into. Um, and they've been helping out.
That's a blessing. Amen.
In order for a bank to thrive, we have to open up accounts.
Yeah.
So please support the Southside Community Federal Credit Union by going there and opening up an account. Okay?
All right.
All right. So, Latasha,
Yes.
okay, I met you
Mhm.
at a very interesting event.
Yes.
We were talking about the state of our communities here in Chicago and discovered that you are the founder of an independent school.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so Latasha, I want you to tell us the name of your school, and then you can go on to tell us a little bit. Start off to tell us a little bit about your school and about yourself.
All right. So yes, again, Ms. Denise, it's such a pleasure to be here, and I thank you for everything that you just shared. And my husband and I, and our organization and our extended family,
Mhm.
everything we can to bring more awareness to all these wonderful Black businesses you just named. Um, but yes, my husband and I, we have what I like to call a two-in-one unique learning center. So we have kind of two things going on. So we do have an independent school. The new word that they've coined is microschool. We've been doing this for 17 years. So we used to just say private school. So now the new thing again is a micro school. So we have a K through 12 micro school right in our home, and we have in-person students and also online students. So we are originally from Louisiana, my husband and I.
Oh,
Yeah, we've been in Chicago 12 years. The Lord sent us here 12 years ago for ministry. So we've been in this great city. We feel like we've been here all our life now. We're so interwoven into the city, into the families here. So we
okay.
still teach two families back home in Baton Rouge, and we also have a family in Florida. Yeah, we have virtual e-learning that we teach, and such a blessing. We've been doing that even before the craze with COVID, if you will. So we've always had that extension with those families, and also we have a homeschool co-op organization, which is CHESS, Christian Home Educator Support System. And so that's where families in the city of Chicago, and we have families in the suburbs, even as far as Creek, Illinois, that come for our and becomes a member of our homeschool organization here. And so we have all this activity going on in the basement. And so
Yeah.
we've been homeschooling now, my husband and I, for 17 years. And we have four children. Our oldest is 26. We homeschooled her from 4th to 12th, and she finished college. And so we're blessed by that. We have three more that we're homeschooling. Our boys are 16 and 14, and our baby girl is 7. And I also teach children on the block and in the community.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
we have children that have came as far as Indiana, for in-person learning. So every year our enrollment is different. We're very small, very intimate. And so every year I never know if we have open enrollment, so I never know who the Lord will send. But we're always enrolling to accept families. And as you stated, I know we'll get more into it. With the state of education
Sure.
in Chicago, and especially in the country, it's pretty bad.
So what inspired you, or what led to you homeschooling? Because that's a big undertaking. You
Yes.
know, and a lot more people are starting to do it. But what led to you homeschooling your children?
Yes. So again, back in Baton Rouge, this background, as you said, it's definitely trending now, which we thank God for it. But 17 years ago, we were not in a community where we knew anything about homeschooling. We didn't even know a soul that was homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, we didn't know you can put those two words together, if you will. The
Mm-hmm.
Lord called us to homeschool. So the Lord just impressed it upon my heart to pull my daughter out of public school. And we were typical parents. My background is real estate. I have a degree in business, and my husband is a barber. He owns a barber shop. So, typical, nothing was going on. And thank God we didn't have any complaints with the public school. We always knew the public school was declining, but there was nothing going on. And again, the Lord just really spoke to my heart very audibly in reference to pulling her out. And I just heard it as clear as day as we're talking. You're going to homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this happened the first day of school, when she was going into the 5th grade. And so I went back to the school. I had just dropped off, and the Lord spoke, and I went back to the school. And and I was crying and just very confused because it was just so it just dropped in my spirit like a ton of bricks. It was very fearful, but I knew I had to obey God, and I pulled her out, and so here we are, 17 years later. I'm just making a long story short.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here we are, but within months, I realized more. It's like the Lord began to remove the veils off my eyes that why He was calling me and so many of us, I believe all of us, to homeschool. It wasn't about the academics. It was about discipleship. It was about building that foundation in Him. Building our children's character and their development, and then and we believe as Christians that if we build that strong foundation of our faith, the ABCs of one, two, threes will come.
Mm-hmm.
But however, in getting those veils removed from my eyes concerning the public education system, I began to realize how such an injustice it had been to our community for so long, and how even the more so now within these last 5 to 10 years, it has been really weaponized.
Mm-hmm.
Black community. As many of us know the story, we've been fighting for equality and equity for 60 plus years, and we're worse off now than we were when we were fighting for the rights to have public education. And so, my husband and I, we're kind of Booker T. Washington people. We strongly believe we need our own schools. We strongly believe we should be teaching our children. We strongly believe that our children need our representation in the classroom, in the material, and as you are stressing, our history is very, very
Absolutely.
important. And so that's been our journey. And so we have been strong advocates um, for Christian education, not just education, Christian education, biblical education. And we're non-denomination, so we don't confess any denomination. We just believe in Genesis to Revelation and the Spirit of God. And so we're strong in that, and we're strong on parental rights. Um, because so much is happening. We talk about the state of education. It's really a usurping of parental rights in this country. And from that extension of usurping our rights, they're destroying our children. And so I just believe that homeschooling our kids, getting back to our roots of that, if you will, is a
Mm-hmm.
key to restoring our families.
So what I'm hearing is you feel like the schools are not instilling your values, the type of values that you grew up with, the type of values that represent who you are in your community, are not being instilled in our children in the schools, if any values at all. You
Yes.
know,
So,
I worked in the Chicago public school system here for 35 years. And, I saw a decline
mhm,
on that level. I also saw a decline in the resources
mhm,
that were put into the education. And I saw a lot of what looked to be experimenting, trial and error, new things, with children. And, your child has one time in first grade, one time in third grade, fourth grade. And, so many children were falling behind,
yes.
and the things that they were starting to take out
Mhm,
of the curriculum,
yes.
in terms of writing skills, in terms of critical thinking skills, taking the libraries out of the schools, you know, even the art and the music.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's pretty bad. It's really, literally a dumbing down. And as
Mhm.
you said, because of the financial resources, so you got one hand where it's just culturally a dumbing down, and then when you have the lack of resources added on top of that, our children are really getting a disservice in the public school system. And we know everybody's not going to pull them out, but I just echo the more that can, the more that can come together and rally around. There's many Black people doing what I'm doing. I think I was in a meeting a few months back. I think over the country is 400 and something Black independent schools now.
Mhm.
More have.
Wow, that's a lot.
There's a lot of Black people.
Do you know how many are here in Chicago?
No, unfortunately, I don't. I don't know
Okay,
here, but we are growing,
you're
and even
growing.
in the homeschool, Blacks are now the leading in homeschool. We're at 16%
Mhm.
homeschool, and so I think COVID had its blessing, if you will. It really exposed the state of education and what our children are learning. And so I think from the homeschooling movement, many co-op schools, many private schools, pod schools, micro schools, independent schools have birthed from that. And it's such a blessing, and I pray we see more of a boom, especially in
Okay.
cities like Chicago. My husband and I, our vision will be to saturate the city with more of these micro school, independent schools, because we have some phenomenal people in our community, resilient people in our community that we know can take the reins. And I call it kitchen table. Bring these kids to your kitchen table and teach our babies. Get them out of the clutches of this oppressive system, if you will, that definitely has its tentacles to be set against us. And we have some phenomenal teachers in the public school system, and I believe a lot of our teachers could see their, even more so, their potential in giving back if they could just get them under that system, and really, really help our children, because the statistics now, with the reading, and as you're stressing how important it is that our children read, we only have 11% of our babies reading,
Mm-hmm.
which is unconscionable. I don't even understand that. I don't even, and money is an issue, but I look at the homeschool dynamic. In a year, the average homeschool parent may spend $500 a year to educate a child. And so these billions and billions of dollars that we so often see and read about that it takes, I get it from a system perspective, but I'm looking at the individual standing in the classroom. Why you can't teach? Why you need $1 billion to teach that baby to read, phonics, write? They 5% math, they can't count. How much money does it take to teach them basic algebra? Basic things. And so I look at it from a heart perspective as the human being standing in that classroom. You're standing there with our children. What do you mean you need so much money to teach them?
And then with all of that investment, if our students are managing to make it through the school systems at the high grammar school, high school, college level, what is the payout at the end?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and how prepared are our students uh, as far as competing? How prepared are they when you talk about those values that are brought to the table to handle their own business or to even be good employees?
Yes, exactly. Because character is critical, and so again, the vocational. Me and my husband are entrepreneurs over 25 years, so we teach that. That's bread and butter in my house. That comes without say, teaching our children financial literacy. So in our co-op and in our school, we teach financial literacy. That's just a part of our curriculum. Vocational skills, trade, and so we echo that more of that needs to be brought inside of our communities. Those things have been outsourced. And so where are the welders and the carpenters and the roofers and the landscapes and the architects, so all these different trades, we need to be preparing our children. Everybody's not college material, and so we need to be more focused on preparing our children to go out here into these trade skills, because these trade skills make a lot of money. Plumbers and electricians are not going anywhere. So we have to be cultivating those talents, those skills and gifts in our children. And so I believe, because Black people, we have that in us. That's the fabric of who we are. That I know in my heart, because we do it. Teaching that in our own schools is effortless. It's just inevitable. We're just gonna do it because that's just who we are. My husband is a barber, so we teach the kids how to cut hair. Again, my background is real estate, and so we have to do that. So I just pray that more Blacks will wake up and see the need to really snatch back our families from that perspective.
So if you were going to talk to a parent about homeschooling, um, you have your parents that work,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have your parents that are at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who are typically the types of parents that you're getting to be in the homes to homeschool,
Yeah,
or can both can it
yeah.
happen on
Both,
both ends?
both can equally homeschool. The single parent, the two-parent household, the working parent, those that are entrepreneurs at home online, they both can. But the statistics, and even in my school, they're mostly married. Well, the homeschooling. So we got two things. So mainly the homeschool community, they are two-parent households, but there are a lot of single parents homeschooling. Now, because our school is an extension of our ministry, I like to call more of an evangelistic ministry. I do have parents that have come through the school that have been single, and so we welcome all. So there's no, if you will, discrimination, be it two-parent household, be it one-parent household. We want to restore all of our families, and we want to help.
So let's say you're a working parent.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
So working parents, if they want to homeschool, then we have to be very creative. And so the first thing I talk to single parents is the entrepreneurship, because at the end of the day, somebody got to work, right? You got to bring in the money, right? So homeschooling, somebody has to be home and somebody has to work. So you do need that finances coming in, because you're the school. So in totality, you are the cafeteria lady, you're the janitor, you're the teacher, you are the school. And so when it is a single parent, and they want the homeschool, or they want the homeschool mythology, meaning they want that environment for their children. And whatever their economic situation is, be that they have to go to work, people working 5 days a week, 8 to 5, whatever the case may be, then that's where we as a community step in. And I say, well, be that you can't homeschool your kid at this time, we step in as assistant to help them homeschool their children and or give them that same quality of education that baby deserved. And so what happens with that parent, they begin to embrace and see their children learn in a way that they haven't been able to obtain in the public school, meaning they become hands-on with their child's education. They become very involved with their children's education. And so from that, I categorize all of them as homeschoolers, because they're involved with their children's education. And I stress, very importantly, we're here just to assist, so they know everything that's happening. They have to volunteer. They have to help coordinate things. They're in chat groups with me. So they're very hands-on. And then we have a parent-led school. So it's not just me teaching. So parents actually teach. They can bring their ideas, their visions, their gifts to the table, and actually inspire not just their children, but other people's children. So it's such a beautiful community, and such a beautiful family of people that come together. And so that's how we do it. We just invite them all to come aboard and be involved with their children's education.
Okay, so the schools, the options that you have in terms of engagement, because what you're doing is you're offering a independent school option, and then you're also helping parents who want to homeschool their children.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly it. So we all meet the homeschool parents that are taking the lead in homeschooling their children. We meet once. The parents that need our assistance, meaning that may enroll their children in our school, they're full-time. Those children are full-time.
Do the parents help each other?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We all shadow each other. They all work hand in hand and coordinate in classes and help each other. So yeah, it's very hands-on with their children's education.
Okay. And so now I was looking at your information. You have an accelerated Christian program.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that look like? Because you said you're non-denominational, but you have these Christian principles that are incorporated in your learning. So what does that look like?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yes, so we teach ACE, which is Accelerated Christian Education. That's the name of the curriculum. So the curriculum is a biblical worldview. And so it's a very individualized, self-paced curriculum, and it's based on mastery. And so when the kids enroll, we give them a diagnostic. And so what the diagnostic do, it catches learning gaps and any levels of acceleration. And so all of our children that are enrolled, be it online or in person, none of them are where they are chronologically, meaning that all of them are in different age, different grade levels. So our school is basically non-graded. Because, for example, we may have a chronologically 8-year-old third grader but their reading may be sixth grade, their math may be second grade. And so what the diagnostic do, it catches those learning gaps or learning points of acceleration. And then the curriculum is tailor fitted to fit the child's unique learning ability. And then from there, they can work at their own pace. So their education is vastly unlimited. And so we school from September to May, but there's no failing in our school. So that's another thing. We don't have the F system, and we don't do D's either. So we don't have the D system. We don't have the F system. Our students don't fail. What happens is if they're struggling with an area, let's just say it's algebra 1, because most children have anxiety for math and algebra. So if they're struggling with algebra 1, we don't fail them because it's May. We just keep working whatever that concept is, whatever that skill is that they're now mastering within the framework of algebra 1. We just stick to it until it's mastered, so they don't fail a subject. So that strips away all that anxiety. It strips away that competition, because they're not in competition with anybody. So we don't do a conventional school standard like the public education. We do an individualized standard that's based on the Word of God, meaning that God says, we come together as a congregation, but He still deals with it individually. So all these babies are coming together in one room, if you will, but we teach them and we deal with them based on their unique learning ability. Yet we challenge them, we push them. Trust me, we want our children to be accelerated. We want all these things, but we have to close learning gaps if they exist, so that education is allowed, so that they can go step by step smooth, so their journey can be just phenomenal in their education. And so that's the way we've been teaching for 17 years. And I've just seen more of children loving to learn than anything, and just not struggling and not stressing, because they're not in competition with their peers. They're working at their own pace, and they're working based on their God-given gift. And it's just a beautiful thing. So that's what ACE is. And all the subjects we teach, again, are from the biblical foundation. So that's our core, meaning that's our math, science, social studies, and history. But we teach a whole wealth of things. So our enrichment courses is we teach financial literacy year round, literally every week. We teach financial literacy, and we teach Black history.
What does financial literacy look like?
So,
and you working with this at all grades?
Yeah, all grades. Yeah, so we do.
Because you go from kindergarten to
12th. So we do
grade.
have pre-K sometimes. So it depends on the year and depends on the families. But if we have our little pre-K babies, we try to find resources. But technically, K through 12. And so we've used a variety of financial literacy resources. Last year we used Dave Ramsey's curriculum. So he has a literally K through 12. We have a elementary version, middle school version, and high school version. And this year we're incorporating some of junior achievements financial literacy. So we just kind of research a lot of things, because we want to make sure that we accommodate all the grade levels that we have in terms of financial literacy. So that's really a core subject. We never get rid of financial literacy. And we teach what I call History 365. So we don't do February. We do year-round Black history. We've never done.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what is History 365?
Yeah, we've never done just February. We're 365. So we teach our kids, we exist 365. So we learn about Black patriots and Black history, everything in our history. The 7 Black men who went to Congress, we just go through it all. And so based on the material we find, sometimes what we're learning may take 2-3 weeks, 5 weeks to learn, but it's throughout the whole year we're learning. And we buy chapter books they may read about, and they've read these people several times, Booker T, Frederick Douglass, Harry. We just pick Marcus Garvey. We just choose a whole wealth of Black history and Black patriots to study. So, and then we teach civics, because we want to make sure that our children understand, if you will, democracy, the political process, how important economics is. So we bridge civics and economics together. And then we pull out the U.S. Constitution, because we focus on the. So that's what 365 is. So we just teach all of them, and we alternate depending on how lengthy the material is. We just kind of alternate, but we bridge all that together. And we literally go from pre-K to 12. So our little bitty babies, like our 3 and 4, they do the ABCs of economics and the 1, 2, 3 of Constitution. So we find material, we hunt for it, we find it to make sure it is no more than just reading to them, that our babies get it. We find coloring sheets about the Constitution. Whatever it is, we make sure they all get it.
And how do the parents, operate in that realm?
They love it, and every parent teaches different things. So honestly, just a little more transparency. Even before I got on this call, we just had a parent meeting, and so we was sharing all the different topics we're going to be teaching because we start school next week. And all the parents teach a subject, and so everybody was going through the descriptions of different classes, looking at the different curriculum options, what we need to order, what we need to purchase, and all the parents signing up to teach. So they love it. They love it. And some parents are shadowing other parents. So we have 2-3 parents maybe working together to teach one subject. We got to make sure the kids are, classroom management, so make sure everybody's keeping up because everybody's at different levels and different paces. Everybody's writing at different speeds, reading at different speeds. And so all the parents are hands-on to make sure all of our babies are learning.
Okay. So, when parents are looking to educate their children, what are some fundamental things that they should be thinking about when it's time, because we don't think about things. We go through different phases in life. I was even talking to someone about young women, young girls, when it's time for them to come into their menstrual cycle, and do we have discussions with them about that and what that means? You're moving into a realm where you can now bring life into the world, and so I know some parents, they can't wait to just drop the kids off at school. When you get 5, I can drop you off at school and I can get a break. But what are some fundamental things that parents should be thinking about when they're looking at their child's education?
Yeah, and again, we can't stress it enough. They have to make sure they're reading and writing. I am big on reading and writing. With all my last 3 babies, I put a pencil in their hand at 9, 10, 11 months old. So I am big on them writing. My last 3 was writing by the time they were 1.5, 2, whether it was just chicken scratch and writing their name. So writing if they're little. If you're just not having a baby and they're like 1, from 1 to 3, 1 to 4, please don't just let them play. I'm very structured, I know they learn through play, but you have to have that 5-10 minutes a day, if you will, 20 minutes, whatever, to sit those babies down, teach them to write their name, read to them, definitely allow them to read. And phonics, I'm big on phonics. That's another thing they didn't teach in school. I have the old set of phonics with the cassette tape.
Yes.
We have like 3 sets of those. So we have the newer, but I like the cassette tapes. And we also have phonics math. So I have an old kid. So I'm huge on phonics. So when I get my 3, 4, 5-year-olds that are enrolling, they got the headphone sets on. We are phonics people around here, So I'm big on them learning their phonics so they can learn how to read, and I'm big on them writing. Have to read and write, yes, and counting. So that all that's hand in hand. And so one more point, what we do, we say pre-K and kindergarten first, but we bridge all those 3 together. So we don't do a separate graduation, not my school, for that. So when they come in at 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, that's one learner because that's all the same material. So our babies are learning everything that they need to learn from pre-K to first grade in that time frame. So I introduce them to math real early. I introduce them to manipulation real early. 1 + 1 is 2. So they learn those things really, really early.
Do they do math facts?
Yes, really early. 4, 5 years old, they're doing
math. I'm asking that because one of our great educators, Mr. Hunter, who owned Ivy League Tutoring, that was on Jeffrey, he was a huge proponent of math facts, that they learn those math facts. I know when I was in grammar school, we used to have to recite them as a class. He says once you get that down, then that gives you a strong, foundation for when you get to the higher levels of math, because now you don't make so many errors and have to stop and think, automatically, how much 7 times 8 is,
Yes, but we're huge on that. So we make them write. And then, my basement, so the school is right here in my basement. So the walls are covered with posters and school things. But yeah, so we bridge all that together. So I call them my little bitties. So our little bitties, 6 and under, they learn math very early. Yes.
Okay. So three other areas I was going to ask you about: foreign language
Yes.
and music and art.
Yeah. So foreign language, we've dabbled in Swahili a little bit. The kids probably were better than I was. But right now we're doing Latin and Spanish. And so for the last, so this will be our second year with Latin, and we do Spanish pretty often. But normally with the kids, we kind of let them choose what foreign language they want to study. So we do foreign language, but they are really enjoying Latin right now. So the Latin class has been really fun for them, learning the root of words. So this is the one that they're enjoying the most. And Latin is important, as we all know, because the root of the words we use. And so it'll help them with their reading, their grammar, their writing.
Absolutely. They'll be able to recognize the meaning of words that they haven't seen before because they know the root word.
Yeah, so we're doing our second Latin course this year. So, and it's all ages again. And so we have a curriculum called English from the Root Up. I know many people probably heard. So it's actually Greek and Latin. And so it's just hundreds of vocabulary words, and we just have a good time with them on the whiteboard, and they just enjoy doing Latin. Music, we're big on music. A lot of our students in our co-op are huge. I would say they're musicians. These kids are so talented. So we have a piano here. We have several actually, drums. We have trombones. So we're big on music. My oldest son is more the one of my personal kids that's very musically inclined. But we have a baby in our co-op. He's an orchestra years old. I mean, we have some phenomenal children in our co-op in school with music and arts. Oh God, these kids are huge on art. Um, they can draw you. These kids are just so gifted. And so our art class is, and you probably seen on my website, we call it Smart E. And so what we did, we instead of STEM, because we don't do Common Core, so instead of STEM, I just took the same acronyms and flipped it. So it's still science, math, arts, robotic, technology, and engineering. So we call it Smart E. And so we teach all that. So we do robotics. So the children make robots. We do technology courses. We do engineering courses. My baby boy is he's huge on creation science space. So he loves the solar system. We're always building solar system models. I mean, they just do a host of things and science projects. And so Fridays is what we call our project-based learning career day, where Smarty plays a part, where we just buy resources and tools for them, and we just let them research and do projects till their little hearts fall out. So they just have a good time, experiment with a whole host of subjects and things. We've even done photography. My oldest son is into cars, so he's currently doing an auto mechanic curriculum. So it's just such a vast world, if you will, that their education is so unlimited. So we just are able to just introduce our children to a whole bunch of things, which is a blessing.
Wow. And do you do things outside of the school?
Yes, we do a lot of field trips. But I must say, sometimes we get caught up in the work because all that stuff I just said. So, and so I'm not the most recreational one. So thank God for the other parents. I get caught up in the books, and so the other parents definitely balance me off. So we do have a field trip coordinator because I will forget, and so we do plan their field trips, and so we try to hit all the museums, and we try to make sure, though, a lot of our field trips are educational based. So a lot of the times they have clipboards on the field trips, so we're always doing scavenger hunts and taking them to different places so that they can have fun. And we do a lot of park days when it's warm here in Chicago. So once the sun come out, we try to get out as much as we can. But yeah, we do. Yeah.
Okay. So I was also reading where you talked about you have been an advocate for parents and parents' rights.
Yes.
I know from working in Chicago public schools, when it comes to the education of the children, when it comes to a lot of things, a lot of parents really didn't understand the power that they had. Now, of course, here being in an independent school, uh, that's very empowering for parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's one of the things from what I'm hearing is a very empowering situation, more flexibility, you know, in terms of the education, better for the children so they can work at their own pace.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at, we still have so many children that are in our public schools,
Mm-hmm.
our Chicago public schools. And I know you served as a coordinator.
Yeah, I'm the state coordinator for parentalrights.org. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So can you tell us about that? You know, what you found and what you feel, you know, needs to be done in that area.
Yeah, so the parental rights are it's a national organization. I'm the state coordinator for Illinois, and so my volunteer role is to just bring more advocacy of how parents, like you said, we sometimes we don't realize how much power we have. And to make it very simple, they're our kids. That's the power because they're my children. They belong to me. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's not an organization don't deem our power. We just need the power because they belong to us. And so my role has been not just from an organizational perspective, but from a biblical, just knowing that these are my children. God gave them to me to empower parents with that perspective and let them know that no system, no organization has the right to undermine or usurp your parental authority with your children. For example, dealing with our school system, there's no curriculum transparency in the schools. And so, as you stated, in a school like mine, that is empowering for parents because curriculum transparency is here. They see everything. Matter of fact, they plan half the curriculum.
Sure.
So that's a huge issue in Chicago, where I mean, it's country, it's global, but speaking for Chicago, there's no curriculum transparency. And so a lot of the times the parents don't even know what their children are being exposed to. And the cultural and social indoctrination in school systems is again, it's just disheartening. And then the sexualization that's now in the school systems. And so that's been my role for 10 plus 13, 15 years to bring more attention for parents that do choose to keep their kids in public school for whatever reason. They have to fight for their children. So it's empowering them with the tools by exposing legislation, exposing policy, exposing things that are literally harmful to children. And there's a lot of legislation that is just woefully unsafe and it should not be in our school system. And parents are not having any say. Again, for example, SB 818, which is the Comprehensive Sex Education Bill, parents only have an option to opt their children out. So it's a default opt them out, but it should be a default opt in, meaning that students should not be automatically in the curriculum without parental consent. So there's a lot of things that is being taught in public schools that is done without parental consent and is after the fact. And so I think the spirit, if you will, around this is taken for granted that unfortunately a lot of parents are not engaged. They're not involved in their children's education. And that is causing a lot of trauma to our children's education, a lot of disparities with our kids because they're not getting emails. I mean, they're getting the emails, but they're not checking the emails of what's happening. A lot of people not keeping up with policy and legislation and the governor signed this or did that. Parents are working. We have so much on our plate, so much they're keeping up with, and a lot are not staying abreast of these things that are really harming their children and again undermining their parental rights. So that's my role. DCFS is a huge problem, especially in the Black community. The medical is a huge problem. There's a lot of medical kidnapping. There's a lot of undermining parents right in the middle.
A lot of people don't know about the medical kidnapping.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on that has to be exposed. And again,
can you explain what that is, the medical kidnapping?
Yeah, so with medical kidnapping is a term that they use in terms of where the medical industry is just basically undermining, again, not to keep using that word redundantly, but that's just what it is, undermining parents' rights in terms of what they deem is right for their kids. For example, you have in some states, it's not necessarily here in Illinois, where the the doctors can deem at 11 years old, they can, do whatever medical procedure to your child, or you cannot be in the room when they're making these medical decisions, but yet you have to pay for them. So it's things like that they're doing to kids. Then there's situations that I personally have been involved in where the hospital or the medical would take possession of the kid. And I've seen parents where they have lost their parental rights. So that's medical kidnapping, where they would take and deem your child, put them in DCF custody, put them in foster home because you saying, you may just want a second opinion about a medical procedure. And so those cases are happening more than we realize. And unfortunately, the Black community is always at a huge disadvantage and disproportionately affected by those things. So is those issues that as they come in my sphere of influence, I try to bring as best I can awareness to those things.
Okay, and so that's with the parents in the Chicago public schools you've been working with.
Yeah, so bringing awareness. We walk the streets, we give out flyers, whatever I can do to bring awareness to that and to the direct effect of what's happening in the school system. And especially for me now, the biggest one that I'm fighting is the sexualization. That's the one that we need to blow the trumpet on, because you got the transgender ideology in the schools. You have the homosexuality in the schools.
So what are some of the policies there that they have on the table?
It's in the curriculum. It's law, unfortunately. So basically, they can teach these things. They can teach your children gender identity. So and transitioning them, meaning that if your child and I believe a lot of just culture and a trend and social media, if Johnny goes to school and he's a boy biologically, and if he decides he wants to be Jill and a girl, the school helps with that, because Chicago is a gender affirming city. It's a sanctuary city for gender affirming care, meaning that people can come here and literally, unfortunately, have, gender surgery, these children.
So does it present as something that's being influenced or that they talk about?
Yeah, it's in the curriculum. So it's curriculum material. It's actually a curriculum, and it's called comprehensive sex education, a comprehensive sexuality health education. So it's an actual curriculum. So
and everybody is taught.
It's K through 12. It's K through 12. And so parents do have the option to opt out, right? But with opting out, they are now making provisions for when the children opt out. So we have heard from parents in the city of Chicago that even though they submit the opt-out form, that they're not making provisions to take the kid into another classroom. And so that's what's happening in terms of the sex ed bill. And also the things that they're teaching, these children should not be exposed. And some people say, well, high school, no kid, let these kids be kids. No kid should be exposed to any form of sexual activity. 17 and under, the law have deemed their children. Let them be kids. They have time for sex. And so we promote abstinence. We don't want our kids being promiscuous. We don't want our kids fornicating, having babies out of wedlock before time. So we don't need our children. We're not sending them to school so the schools or the legislators can deem what's appropriate for them, because what may be appropriate for this 10-year-old is not appropriate for this 10-year-old. So we don't want our children's innocence stripped away from them in the school system. We send them there for the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, not for them to be sexualizing and grooming them and preparing them to have oral sex. No 3rd-year-old should be introduced to oral sex at 8 years old. That's in the curriculum. Masturbation is in the curriculum. No, you got grown people not even entertaining those kind of sexual activities.
That's right.
This is egregious. It's wicked. It's evil. And again, these things are done without parental consent. More parents are catching on, but how many parents just 2 years ago had no idea that this law had been passed? And so I don't know if I ran for lieutenant governor of Illinois. So, running for the lieutenant governor and crossing back and forth across the state, there was so many parents that had no idea that this curriculum was in the schools and their children were being exposed to this. So it's very disheartening that this is in our school system. It has no place in the school system. It has no point. And I hear things they're going to do it anyway. It doesn't matter what they do anyway. You have no right to teach it. They do a lot of things anyway. So do we just structure a curriculum for every sin we do anyway? Absolutely not. So that's why I'm wanting to say, get them out. It's time for us to get our kids out of there.
Right.
Stop, because this sexualization is grooming. We got a huge issue with sex trafficking. So it's so much sexual exploitation connected to this. We can just go on and on. So I'm a strong proponent. Black people, get your kids out of public school.
And the values, because they want to say, there's lack of discipline in the school. And I think that's why they have a hard time keeping, especially new teachers. They come into schools and they can't deal with the lack of discipline because you can't say anything, you can't do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And children are just doing whatever they want to do.
Yeah, and that's a cultural issue, and I hear so many stories from teachers about that. But that's a spiritual cultural issue, and that goes back to the very existence of who you guys are in terms of restoring our community, being the repairers of the breach. And then we have to talk to our church leaders, so that's a whole nother issue in terms of, the behavior that they're labeling. But again, Ms. Denise, a lot of these kids that they saying can't learn, I teach these kids, and guess what? I don't see those problems.
You don't see those problems.
No, I'm telling you, from Louisiana to Illinois, all these same babies that they're saying can't learn, got all these behavior problems. You put them babies in an environment like this, you don't even see that. And that's what I'm saying. Black parents, please wake up. They're quick to label our children. They're quick to medicate our children. And we have to denounce all these labels off our kids and understand that our kids are unique. And not to say no other race isn't, but when we get our babies in an environment where they're being taught by people that look like us, the curriculum is representing us, and they're getting that one-on-one and that attention they love, and with people that understand them, you don't see those issues. Kids gonna be kids. Yeah, they're gonna be misbehaved, but it's normal, but you don't see that. And then when them babies are able to learn based on where they are, that removes all that anxiety and pressure off. So that's my plea. As many of us that can, please get our kids out. And many of us that, again, can bring them babies to your kitchen table, do everything you can to support your neighbor and get them out of these schools.
And I'm sure with the work that you're doing, working with the children, working with the parents that want to homeschool the children, I'm certain if somebody wants to start another school, that you would be a great, resource.
Yeah, absolutely.
A great resource.
Please call me.
A great resource. So give our audience the name of your school and how to contact you, Latasha, because this is, what you're doing is what we need.
Yes, absolutely. So again, I give my cell number, direct cell number. You can call me 773-814-6843. You can email me at info@chessup.org, and that's info@chessup.org. And my website is chessup.org. You can find everything that I've just shared on our website. Christian Home Educator Support System, that's our umbrella organization, where we funnel everything under that umbrella, if you will. But I'm right here on the south side of Chicago too. So me and my husband are right here. He has a barbershop, business owner barbershop in South Shore. So we're just a call and a neighborhood away.
Wow.
And also, like I said, we're in our basement. We're also fundraising as well, because we want to bring more visibility to what we're doing. So we are praying and believing God for a building. And so I believe the more visibility that we can have, the more families can see what we're doing.
And can people donate to your school?
Absolutely. All that's on the website, 100%.
On the website?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we have been talking with Latasha H. Fields of the Christian Home Educators Support System. For those of you that are looking at enhancing your child's education, that want an independent education, or even thinking of homeschooling or open up in your own school, please contact Latasha. What you're doing, I think, like I said, this is what we need. And you're not talking, you're doing the work. And that's exactly what we need. And we so much appreciate what you're doing.
And I thank you so much for having me on, Denise, and talking to your audience, talking what I like to call sisters and brothers, right? So I'm
absolutely
very grateful.
Absolutely. So, friends and family, I hope you learned something tonight. I hope you were inspired tonight to do something. You know, we have to do the work. We get on this TV and the radio and we get into our personal conversations and we complain, but it's time for everybody to roll up your sleeves and do something to help our situation. And here at Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities, we're enhancing the awareness and support of businesses, people that are doing something here in our community, such as Latasha tonight. We also wanted to let you know who our winner of our book giveaway of the three mothers is tonight, and that is Dianelle Hill. Dianelle Hill of Chicago. Dianelle, you will receive a copy of The Three Mothers by Anna Maleka Tubbs. And this book is about the mothers of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and James Baldwin. A wonderful read. We give away some great books. Book giveaway, absolutely. And this will be coming from Rose Cafe, which is our online bookstore here in Chicago. Rose is a teacher here at Chicago Public Schools, and she has a bookstore that is online. So please support her at rosecafe.com. And you can also go to our website at rrgbc.org and donate to our organization to help us in our efforts.
Yes.
So again, Latasha, keep up the good work. I will definitely be in touch with you.
Thank you.
The things that we talked about. And we want to thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you. God bless you all.
All right. And God bless you and your husband.
Thank you.